Hello, everybody, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Thursday, the 19th of March. I wanted to share you a reflection from Bear Grylls' Soul Fuel that really, when I read it about a week ago, it just like flattened me. It's all about perspective. He writes, I read a story about an art critic standing in a gallery staring at a painting of Mary holding the infant Jesus on her lap. In his book, The Vision and the Vow, Pete Greig described the way the critic admired the painter's skill, but somehow found the proportions all wrong. The critic wasn't the first to criticize the painting, but as he stared, he had a revelation. What if the painting had never been intended to hang in a gallery, but in a place of prayer? The critic dropped to his knees and suddenly saw that generations of art critics had missed. The picture finally made sense, everything in perfect proportion. It was not the perspective of the painting that had been wrong all these years. It was the perspective of the people looking at it. It was only when the critic got to his knees that he saw the power and the beauty of what the painter intended. We can try to go through life as critics, standing and staring, looking for flaws and faults in the world around us, but we aren't created for that. We were made for more, and we find it when we kneel down before God, trusting Him with our lives. The Father will honor and reward anyone who serves me. John 12, verse 26 from the Message. And who doesn't want the blessing of Almighty God in our lives, on our lives? I really appreciated that particular thing because I'm thinking about how often do we need to just look at something from a different angle. Rob and I, when we moved into this house 2 years ago, we were thinking, I don't know, I think I was feeling bad because he was giving up his career. We knew he was heading for retirement, and we had this new house, which we have until, it's called the Bishop's Lodge. We have it until I retire, which where I live in the ecclesiastical province of Northern Lights, our particular canon or rule about working is that the bishop can continue to serve until the last day of the 9th month after their 70th birthday. So I can work until March 31st of 2042. So I've still got some time to serve. And that means we get to live in this house rent free. Like they give me housing. So we get to live in this house until 2042. And we've never lived anywhere. Neither one of us have ever lived anywhere that long at all. And so I think I decided, let's splurge. And we bought a bigger screen TV, a nicer quality TV than we had. And one of the things I noticed when I was walking through not Staples, but Best Buy and the Brick and all the places that sell televisions, was that I kept wandering to the side of them. And I didn't realize what I was doing because I realized that some, I don't know whether it's plasma or not, but some of them, when you stand sort of on the edge of them, or if you're standing on an angle looking at them, you can't see the picture. And I don't know what the difference is because obviously those are very popular TVs. So if you're sitting in from a good seat position, right in front of it or wherever, you've got a perfect clear picture, exactly what you want. But when you're standing off the side, and I recognize where our television is in our house is on a wall. There's a dividing wall between our living room and our kitchen. And our sink is exactly on the opposite side of the wall where the TV is. So if I'm in the kitchen doing dishes and I hear that the Montreal Canadiens have scored, with my dripping hands and everything, I don't want to have to go all the way into the living room and stand directly in front of the television. I want to be able to stick my head around the corner and see what happened. And I realized what I was doing was looking through these TVs. Can I see from that perspective when I look around the corner? And some TVs, it was all blurry. Other TVs, it was crystal clear. Now, I imagine that there's other things about those TVs that aren't as good. That's why these other ones that do blur are better. I don't know. But for what we needed, we chose one that no matter where you're standing in the room or looking around the corner, you can actually see the picture. It's all about perspective. And when I read that passage, that devotion, I got thinking about that. How often do we think that something isn't clear, or we don't understand it, or somebody else is describing something to us that's important to us, and we're just scratch our heads and say, I don't get it. Why? This is whatever. I love group of 7 paintings. Paintings that came out of the teens, 20s, and 30s, I think, if I'm not mistaken, in the 1900s in Canada. A group of 7 artists, and then there are some on the periphery. Um, Tom Thompson is my favorite. He wasn't technically a part of the group of 7, but in my mind, he really was. And their artwork is very particular. It's all a little bit different. They all have their own style, but it's of a genre that a lot of people think is awesome, and a lot of people think it's not their style. They might like cubism or abstract art or modern art or something. But Group of 7 makes my heart sing. I have a calendar up here. I have tons of it that needs to be hung at home and here in the office. Prints, of course, don't have the originals. But the Group of Sevens take my soul to a places I've never been, but takes my soul to a place where I can pray and I can rest and I can be. And I really appreciate that. And so just the perspective. I am back, and I apologize because I had someone drop in the office and I need to speak to them. But I was just talking about perspective and the recognition that we all need to take a different perspective. Sometimes we just need to honor someone else's, but sometimes we do indeed need to hit our knees to see something differently. I love the fact that the artist who created this portrait of Mary did so with the intention that people would be kneeling and looking up at the picture to see what their intention was, the artist's intention was. Sometimes we need to recognize that what we're looking at isn't necessarily a piece of art, but it is a call to reflection, or it's giving us a different way of looking at things and inviting us to participate in discovering a new perspective. So I thank you for joining me. I hope that wasn't too disjointed because I had to hit pause and come back after 15 minutes. But thank you for joining me, and I'll see you again tomorrow for Church at Home with Rachel. God bless.